Hello and welcome to PCB Chat. I'm your host, Mike Buetow. Today's podcast is sponsored by PCB Update, the free digital newsletter for the printed circuit industry. Visit the website at pcbupdate.com. Our guest today is Leah Slaughter. Leah just joined Varitron as Vice President of Supply Chain and Artificial Intelligence Programs. For those who don't know Varitron, it is an EMS company headquartered near Montreal and has 4 sites in Canada and the United States. Leah will be responsible for instituting improvements in supply programs and optimizing the supply chain by applying artificial intelligence to accelerate response to customer needs. She has been in the industry for more than 20 years with Future Electronics, SMTC, BreconRidge, Sanmina, Celestica, Jabil, and most recently SigmaPoint. Welcome to PCB Chat, Leah. I'd like to start by asking, how did you get interested in this particular application? Did you find AI, or did AI find you?
I guess it was probably the summer of 2016 where I wrote a white paper that, unbeknownst to myself, wound up being a mirror image of much of what AI is written about and has been in the last year. Back then, I was already kind of on the right path to getting to AI, and I was involved in a project with a supercluster with multiple different facets, including Kinaxis, to cultivate more of a process automation baseline for the supply chain and then grow AI over the next 5 years on top of that. Basically, that's what I'm going to wind up doing here at Varitron. And I did do a talk at the Connections Conference in October in Washington, D.C. with regards to the future look of AI, how we can participate in it, and just some of the things that I see in the future and how that 5 years may look going forward.
I get the sense that you're coming at this from a supply chain management point of view and not like as a software developer.
I'm not a software developer, but I'm kind of an interesting oddball in the middle, to be honest.
Go on.
I do have obviously I've come up through supply chain, so I've worked at multiple different companies with supply chain. However, I've always been a huge proponent on how to create very, very seamless and flawless processes, and then inject velocity into those processes by way of which process automation comes, and then having that element of problem solving or deduction to the highest common denominator, installed into that specific process automation. So that's really where the entire AI and supply chain forum kind of mix in the middle for me. And of course, Kinaxis rapid response I've been using since I was at SMTC, which is multiple years ago, back when it was called WebPlan. That was my introduction to the tool. And rapid response is just really a tool that is unlike no other. It's allowed me to do and customize certain aspects of supply chain to a point that I know that I wouldn't be able to bend and flex with, say, another software system. So I have a bit of the software, and I work very close with Kinaxis on some co-development, but as well, I'm taking the know-how and the process from a supply chain and overall supply chain management, which is much more than procurement and quoting. It spans from demand management all the way through strategic sourcing, quotation, procurement, supply continuity, materials management, distribution, 3PL, and logistics. So it's a very, very large core of each company. And then, of course, being a service provider to our internal customers like operations, as well as customer experience in sales and marketing, let alone our external customers, it provides us with the velocity to be able to continue to get what they want at the right price and the right amount at the right time. And then the project that I had basically founded a little while ago, last year, actually, close to a year ago, was based on the fact that if we have artificial intelligence within our 4 walls, that allows us to have superior velocity as well as transparency and allow to have that ultimate connectivity. However, what happens when we step outside of our 4 walls? Because if we're fast and no one else is fast, then really that doesn't provide the kind of success that we want throughout an entire environment or ecosystem within the supply chain. So one of the things that we looked at, I looked closely at, was involving multiple different partners in the project so that we would be able to take from our standpoint as an EMS provider a big win to our OEM customers, include them as one of the nodes in this specific supply chain. So for instance, if we had an OEM that gave us a sales order, being able to have that OEM fast connect directly into us, the EMS, us connect directly into the distributor into the manufacturer shipping back to the distributor shipping back to us as the EMS, us building up that top level, and then us finally being able to ship to our OEM customer. And I'd actually kind of deemed one of the origins of this project as the dark state, which is basically where we start to do things in the dark. We are able to allow the supply chain to think and problem solve and be intuitive while the world sleeps. Basically, the dark operation means that the supply chain is always turned on. And of course, that gives us ultimate connectivity, artificial intellectual optimization, integrative clarity, and at the end of it all, one holistic vision. Because if you're scanning all of those individual nodes and you're able to compress them into one super node, it's transparent for everybody. So you wind up with a non-linear supply chain, which we've had traditionally for years and years and years, really since the Industrial Revolution. And now you get into the digital core, and that core pinging the outside like a sun or solar system around that specific AI interface. And then one of the things that I had found to be very, very important with regards to AI is not just AI itself, because frankly, it's a very overused word, but having a platform. Of course, the platform that I had chosen was powered up by Rapid Response, company Kinaxis, and it was cultivated to my custom design, or what I would be able to bend and flex that specific platform to. So to make it flexible and intelligent, that plus a control tower, which was probably the biggest part of the entire recipe in the entire AI portion that I was trying to create this project on, of all of its origins, was leveraging the human architecture. So AI by itself and a platform by itself don't really give us what we want. Having that platform plus the leveraging of the human architecture gives us that innovation and that retraining of the exceptions to be able to reprogram that platform, and that in itself equals the artificial intelligence machine learning module, which is definitely the creation of the intelligent machine.
We talk about what artificial intelligence does, greater velocity, greater connectivity, et cetera, but how does it do it? You mentioned the human element in all this. Mm-hmm. Is that just from the upfront programming, or are there continual tweaks along the way? In the course of an actual factory, how is this actually implemented, and then, how long does it take to kind of get it running to the point where it really is lights out?
That's actually a fantastic question with lots of different answers and arms and legs to it. So the first thing that I'll start with is the human contingent to this. Again, traditionally, we've had a supply chain that has buyers and planners, strategic sourcers, etc. And that's been a traditional type supply chain or rollout since really, again, the Industrial Revolution. We really haven't changed a lot. When we start to introduce AI into it, we automate process, we increase velocity, we bring the intuitiveness of the machine into it. It's actually the human that's going to change the role from the traditional buyer planner into something different. They're the ones that are going to create the machine and that deep learning, that machine learning that's going to allow to turn those exceptions into problem-solving opportunities, and those challenges are going to be met with solutions. A couple of the roles that I have actually envisioned inside of the new AI structure and CT structure, control tower structure going forward over the next 5 years would be one of maybe a control tower architect, which would conceptually plan, design, build that virtual intelligence into the machine So create those upfront parameters, because every single business is going to be laid out differently. From that ring of external nodes, from the OEM to the EMS to the distributor to the manufacturer, and then of course back, are all going to treat how they manage their day and their product differently. That CTA is going to allow for that intelligence to be programmed by parameters into the machine so that it's understanding exactly which way it needs to move should it come up against a challenge. The next role that I had envisioned would be something like an artificial intelligence convergence profiler. So somebody who's testing data. Data integrity and the testing of it is imperative to ensure that the machine has the bits of information it requires to make the right decisions. So testing that data relative to the independent and unrelated sources to basically converge on one strong conclusion. There has to be a conclusion that's produced by the machine. It can't be multiple different variations of such, and then a decision on, do I take a bit of this, do I do this, do I do this, do I do this? There has to be a parameter by which one strong conclusion comes out. We follow that path, and typically without exception. But in speaking about exception, obviously, that's going to happen over and over again with that AI/ML, intelligent machine. So what do we do when that happens? Well, we also could have someone that plays the role of an artificial intelligence profile exception specialist. So this is a person that would detect an action that's not part of those specific parameters that we had originally scripted or scripted as an operation, or again, that's standard into that first parameter that's controlled by the control tower architect. So this person is a very important role. This person is the person that would be able to pull those scripts out of the machine, look at the interface, look at how to retrain that interface, and then send that information back up through that control tower architect to be able to take that exception, provide those challenges with opportunities and solutions back into the intelligent machine so that it's able to problem solve that the next time that it comes up to it. The control tower is really very, very important, and I see these roles going and changing and continuing for as long as I can ever imagine, because the fantastic thing about technology and artificial intelligence, machine learning, is that in itself, it's ever changing, it's evolving, and it's exceptionally progressive. So exponentially, it's up to us to be able to follow in those footsteps and control those paths throughout how we depict and devise and enter data and use the exceptions inside that machine so that we come out each day, each month, each year with a new and better product that's able to solve the world's best problems that are going to come out in the future. So I really see the CT as well as the platform equaling what we call that intelligent machine of AI.
Are there limits then to how deep within the organization the software touches and affects actual operations? For example, do we get to the machine level on the factory floor, or is reaching the component warehouse sufficient?
I think it can be a blend. Certainly the supply chain is something that can be a full AI interface in that dark environment. And by that, I mean probably around 80% to 90% we could have it run dark. But as far as the floor and other specific facets or functional groups of a company, I think AI has a blend on which it can actually be able to touch that as well. So when it comes to production scheduling and control, that's another portion of AI that is shared between supply chain and operations, that we can absolutely be able to use that AI/ML interface. Industry 4.0 is also a new way that we can bolt ops into that AI/ML interface and create a super solution for that external customer being supply chain into ops on an everyday occasion. There's all sorts of different places that we, in our day, use certain types of problem solving to allow for us to make better decisions. For instance, if you look at sales and marketing and a funnel that they may be able to construct through a certain piece of software.
When it comes to applying artificial intelligence, what kind of successes have you had?
So basically, when it comes to AI, we've started a long project. Actually, it's been a 5-year project that we're trying to pave that basement or that first level through process automation. And then through AI, we're going to build on that one level at a time out 5 years, to which we hope will allow us to get to what I call a dark environment. And that dark environment will have multiple different inputs of automation, as well as predictive and prescriptive algorithms running to ensure that we have the problem solving with the machine as powered by the control tower and the humans as exception outliers on a daily basis. We're really running towards that goal right now. We do have and will be using part of the Kinaxis software called self-healing lead times, which will enable us to have AI built into our process automation on the first level, which will be this year in 2019 here at Varitron. And that's going to allow us to have predictive and, again, prescriptive algorithms that are going to trend and detect and problem solve lead times on an ongoing basis, which with the last 2 years of allocation that the entire economy worldwide has felt, is a welcome relief, because it's very, very difficult to plan if you don't have a correct lead time. So that's really where we are in going down the path in the project of AI. And some of those different goals that we have on that 5-layer project, but heading out.
And just for clarification, does Varitron currently use AI in any form, either in supply chain or at the manufacturing level?
We do not yet, no. We will be by the end of this year, as we're scheduled to start to go live on basement level in the supply chain in probably what will be October, November 2019. So we'll have the first glimpse, the first origins of AI that will start to pop up in Varitron. So it's very, very exciting.
Now, you've mentioned Kinaxis. Do other companies have to be on the same system in order for it to be fully effective?
No, actually. We are part of a project with the supercluster right now that is examining those different types of programs, who has what. And in an effort in this project, we were we really held full to the truth that everybody needed to have some kind of velocity or some kind of success with process automation and going into AI to allow for the entire project to work. It couldn't just be our 4 walls, because then making us fast and agile, flexible, would not bleed out to the rest of the supply node. So it would stop and get very latent and stagnant outside of us. So when we actually sat around the table at a summit back in October with multiple different parties of multiple companies, discussing how we would kick this project off for AI, the 5-year-long project, and what would be some of the problem statements that we would have, where would we start, and where would we have specific goals and attainments throughout that 5 years. One of them was that not everybody may be able to use a specific set of software, or they may have another one that they want to use. There's certainly different ways and flexibilities through Kinaxis that we can hook up to those companies that aren't presently using it through portals, different information shares, APIs, back and forth. There's multiple different ways to which we can ensure that everybody is getting the best experience possible. Now, obviously, in me saying that, the very, very best experience is to be on rapid response with Kinaxis. That's really the platinum ring. But there are definitely ways that we can use some of that intelligence to hook up to other programs as well.
I like that, the platinum ring. That's funny. For multi-facility companies like Varitron, are you going to be rolling out the modules at a single site first?
We will be rolling them out basically as a cloud-based decision and option, and those will be rolled out across the company. So we will be training, centralizing here at our headquarters in Saint-Hubert. And the great thing about Rapid is that we can roll it right across all sites. It's very easy. It's very easy to use, intuitive. It's got a nice feel to it. And with the amount of time that we put into planning its deployment, having the user groups test for approximately 8 weeks, we're able to determine if there could be any pockets where we would potentially need to assist more, other pockets where we need to assess less, where we may run into different issues just between or multi-linking these dependencies between these plants. So good planning is always the best way to execute and attain a goal. And so that's what we're really looking to do is execute and attain that goal in the best way that we can. And another great thing about Kinaxis is because it's not an ERP system, we can bolt on and still have continuity of supply chain throughout the entire deployment that we'll do across Varitron. So it's a very, very user-friendly tool.
So then the training period isn't going to be that extensive?
The training period for Rapid will be approximately between training on the scripts and then having a go live for 4 weeks where we have subject matter experts with us to ensure that the entire user group is A, adopting, and B, understanding and feeling comfortable in their processes. So it is extensive, but another portion of this comes from the amount of work and effort that we do ahead of that too. So it's not always about the software, it's about the processes that the people are putting in place. And then being able to bend and flex that software around those better processes that are going to better deal with today's economy looking 5, 10, 15 years out, not dealing with what we have in supply chain today, but grabbing that future vision, designing processes, designing them that they're scalable, that they evolve every year, and then being able to apply that software to it to enable those processes and then to enable AI in the coming 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 years out in our project.
I guess I'll mention that even though we've mentioned Kinaxis several times over the course of this podcast, they are not a sponsor of this program. I do want to ask, are there many other AI software providers currently developing tools for the electronics industry? And in your experience, are they effective as drop-in solutions?
That's a very good question. There is, of course, really a plethora of different software systems out there that have AI, have process automation. AI has become a very generic term across the industry, so it really depends on the definitions and parameters set forth as to what AI truly is. I do believe there are good solutions out there. What I would say to that is that I have worked with multiple different ones, and I still believe that Kinaxis is the best out there. They have the most flexible and agile solution. It's easily bolted to what you have, and you can be up and running in a short amount of time should your processes be accurate and have integrity to them. So if you're looking to make a change in your supply chain, have a large adoption rate, a lot of ROI back on your investment from the rapid response tool, and have what's very important, a happy supply chain group, some smiling people, it's definitely a fantastic piece of software that I think all companies should at least look at.
What kind of feedback have you gotten from suppliers and, most important, from customers?
The supply base is really looking forward to having some kind of, again, I keep using the word velocity, but some kind of velocity and intelligence in what we do. What I mean by that in intelligence in what we do is typically because we are doing things as an industry quite manually right now, having something that's process automated and then able to problem solve and go out and ping those external connectivity nodes individually on a real-time basis will allow for a supplier to potentially reduce what they do every day in quoting. So all of those redundant tasks that continue over and over and over and over again, if we're able to change the point to which we look at certain functional parameters and the way that we go to market and the way that we actually execute those tasks, it would be so much better for those potential suppliers to be able to look at, again, what we're looking at too, something more strategic, something that we can do better, something that we can make better in different ways that we can evolve and progress through time. And then, of course, from a customer standpoint, at the end of the day, the customers really, really want things to be, they want things to be simple. They don't want things that are highly involved and take up a lot of their time. They use, as a specific industry now, contract manufacturing as their manufacturing and supply chain arm, and they're hoping that they get that product at the end. That's really what it's all about, at the right price, right time, right amount. Having less time invested into that solution would be perfect for them. So having things like a new demand intake and commit process where we're able to give them what those specific impacts of their decisions may be before they actually even committed into a plan is really something that allows them to stop using great amounts of time on trying to figure out, okay, if I go down this path, I don't know what it'll do. I will have to go and try it out. I've tried it out. It's generated this much excess and obsolete or inventory. It's made these specific builds late. It's done this to me, this to me, this to me, this to me. If we're able to give that up front and give them a clean, easy way, as an example, back to an inventory or an impact statement on critical supplies and paths, those specific things take that time and effort out of what they're doing, allows us to be proactive instead of reactive, and give them information up front that will potentially change the decisions that they'll make in the ways of their revenues to better that going forward.
What advice would you have for potential users? In other words, what kind of concerns or glitches would you tell them to watch out for?
I think the biggest concern out there right now is there is, like every buzzword and everything that comes out in any industry as a new type of philosophy. AI is being used everywhere. It's probably one of the most overused words there is out there. So be careful what you're getting yourself into. Understand what AI is, that it's predictive and prescriptive, and it's trying to solve a problem on its own within a machine. Process automation is being used exceptionally often right now as an AI interface, and it's truly not. Process automation is definitely the basement to the AI interface, but it is not the AI interface. So I would be careful of the meaning and the definition behind what you're trying to actually accomplish and what you need for your business, how far you want to go with your business, and the partners that you pair up with, because the wrong partner could substantially push you back if you don't understand exactly what it is your business requires and what's best to be progressive as an opportunity with you and your business going forward.
Now, if someone were looking to understand more about how AI could help their operations, where would you suggest they begin?
I think reading is probably some of the best items and backstories that you can use when you're trying to figure out where you need to begin. So, an institution like AI Montreal, Scale AI, SCMA, or Optel, even Kinaxis. Kinaxis being a fantastic one because they're already using a piece of proper AI software in one of their modules, are great places to be able to, look at the AI interface. The Connections powered by Kinaxis conference each October is another fantastic way to, learn what's coming out in not only what Kinaxis is bringing to the table, but from other users and how they've used AI, what the future of AI looks like. There's there's a culmination of different types of professions and people at these conferences as well. And then basically, there's a lot of what you can learn just by going on the web and starting to read what process automation is versus AI, versus CT, versus ML, versus deep learning. Science itself, there's fantastic breakthroughs in science outside of our industries on how, you can use AI and deep learning in vision, in auditory. There's multiple different ways that it can be used to help the human. So there's really no lack of information out there when it comes to AI. Again, just make sure that there is integrity in the people, the institutions, and the information that you're looking at to ensure that you're on the right path.
Anything else you want to add before we come to the conclusion of our call?
The one thing that I'd like to leave everybody with is when I really think of our end goal on what AI brings to the table, especially when we think about our industry or our manufacturing industry in general, not specifically high tech, it would be if I said, imagine a supply chain that knows what our customer wants. And then imagine if we could ship it to our customer without them ever asking us. That's really the power of AI. That's what we're here to progress towards, is understanding what our customer needs without them ever having to send over anything to us to ask us for it. So that's truly the end goal, coupled with that dark state.
you reach that point and your customer really will become a customer for life.
You betcha. That is exactly what we all want, is the success of our customers first, and them coming to the table in a nature that says, I am happy and content, and you make my life more simple.
Well, Leah, I want to thank you for sitting in with us on PCB Chat today.
And thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
And I want to remind listeners that today's podcast has been sponsored by PCB Update, the free digital newsletter for the printed circuit industry. Visit PCBUpdate.com to subscribe. This has been Mike Buetow for PCB Chat. Have a nice day.